The sci-fi I pick, and maybe Clei will talk about something different, but like the sci-fi I pick for this is all like short novellas, very fast-paced. That's what I like about sci-fi. I like where there's like a strong plot, and yes, there is a lot of world, and you're going to discover that world, but please God, nobody is writing entire like 30-page chapters that just explain how like your mother's cousin's sister's former roommate like conquered the 7 kingdoms 800 years ago, and now her like, I don't know, like brother's third cousin's former housemaid is the queen of the something the hex. I don't care.
For everyone who's ever said, I need a new book to read, this episode is for you. Welcome back to the Rockford Public Library podcast, where curiosity is encouraged, caffeine is essential, and today we're getting a little nerdy in the best possible way. We are going to step into 3 unique literary worlds. Biographies, for when you want a real-life drama that's better than Netflix. Mysteries, for those of us who love pretending we could absolutely solve a crime from the comfort of a sofa. And sci-fi, for everyone who's ever wished they could time travel, teleport, or at least own a robot that makes snacks. The RPL staff are recommending books that made them laugh, think, gasp, or immediately recommend them to 5 other people. Grab your headphones and let's jump into some staff book recommendations that might just become your next obsession. Let's get started. We are going to kick it off with biographies, and I have Doug Janicke, author, poet, and archivist for the Rockford Public Library. And so, Doug, for those of us who don't know what an archivist or what your role is here at the Rockford Public Library, would you share more?
Yeah, so when I started here at the library, they wanted me to organize all of the local history items. And that's what I did for the first 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how much there was. So up in the archive room, in our nice climate-controlled room, there's 12 collections. It's about 150 boxes right now, and more than 120 original catalog records. It's just thousands of items.
Wow, okay. And so what are you continuing to archive?
Yes, I was very naive when I started and thought, what happens when I'm done? Yeah,
Okay.
it's never done. So there's donations all the time, and if we're going to accept them, it's a matter of where do I place them? Which collection do they fit best in? And then there's things we find all the time that still are not in the collection. There's just black holes.
Yeah.
Then it happens. So, between new things and correcting things, it's never ending.
And so with that, I know you just had an essay come out for the Rockford Anthology. I just wanted to highlight that. And can you share about what your essay is on?
Yes. So Rachel Leon wanted to do something about music. I'm a musician too, and so she really wanted a piece about on the Waterfront Festival, and nobody had done one yet. And I said, well, I went almost every year of its nearly 30-year run, and I played in 5 different bands on 2 different stages over the course of about 15 of those years.
Wow.
So I said, yeah, I have some opinions, I have some observations, and that's what I wrote about.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, and so to me, that's a great link to biographies, because biographies give us a lot of history and bring us to where a person is today. So what's the first book that you have to recommend?
I read Tim Curry's memoir, Vagabond.
Okay.
So I love Tim Curry. I think he's so eclectic, and he named it Vagabond because that's how he views his life. Mm-hmm. He just goes from one place to another. He loves to not be anchored down. It's not so much traveling, it's just that he's that free spirit.
Yeah. And what would we know Tim Curry from?
So his probably most iconic role is a very serious one, he says sarcastically. He was Dr. Frankenfurter from the Rocky Horror Picture Show, which first was just a stage show. Mm-hmm. It was just the Rocky Horror Show. Mm-hmm. And then it became this cult classic.
Yeah. He's probably the most memorable character.
There was a lot of memorable characters in there, but yes, I think he stole the show.
Yeah. And I remember he was in the movie Annie, like back in the 80s.
Yes.
So,
He played a butler in Clue.
Yes.
He was Pennywise from It.
Yes.
And that was in the 90s. It was like a TV series, I think, a miniseries. So this is part of his being a vagabond.
Okay.
He really had no plan like some people do. I'm going to have a career in the movies, and so I've got to do this step. And he just did what he loved, and the career made itself from there. So he kind of went backwards about it.
Okay. That's really cool.
Yeah, because he always said, well, he actually is a musician, too. So if you ever want to check that out, it's as interesting as his Rocky Horror Picture Show persona. He did 3 rock albums.
Okay. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and he wanted to be a musician, and it became, what am I going to do? Act or music? I'm going to pick one. Mm-hmm. And he has done a lot of musicals, so he's still been able to sing. But I don't think he's sorry he stopped the singing part. He just went to acting.
Yeah. What kind of music was he like? I see hair band or like...
It was very, like everything he does, very eclectic. It was rock.
Okay.
It was kind of a Velvet Underground, Lou Reed kind of thing.
Very cool.
Yes, you should listen. You might be kind of scared and amazed. It's interesting.
Okay. So what's the next book that you have?
So I'm reading a memoir from Susan Orlean called Joyride. And just to preface this really quickly, the way I found out about Susan Orlean was she wrote a book in 2018, appropriately called The Library Book.
Oh, interesting.
So being the nerd librarian that I am, I thought, well, I'm going to find out what this is about. And this is actually about a fire that took place at the Los Angeles Central Public Library in 1986. It was arson.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and she works for the New Yorker. She's written a lot of, she doesn't consider herself a journalist, but she writes narrative things for magazines and newspapers. And so she got a hold of this story and just really dug in to find out about this guy. It's very convoluted and dark.
Okay.
As a librarian, it's sad.
Okay. So is it a nonfiction?
Mm-hmm. Because it did happen.
Okay.
And it was just awful.
Oh, interesting.
The whole library, millions of books.
Oh, that's in 1986.
Mm-hmm.
And so what does her memoir, like, does she talk about that in there too?
Yeah, so she's written a lot of other things too. The Orchid Thief is another interesting book about this guy who actually found a black market for certain flowers.
Okay.
And they did make a movie about it, which I have not seen, so that might be interesting to check out. But this is brand new. Okay. So her memoir called Joyride. So if anybody wants to read it, they can have it as soon as I'm done. since I just picked it up. But it's just, it's interesting to hear her own take on her own life and why she started writing, why she wanted to be a writer. Okay. And those are the things I didn't know about her. I mean, I love her writing. To me, the biggest thing about an author is I call it their voice. If I can connect with their voice, I'm sold. Yeah. And some writers write very interesting things, and I kind of like them, but I don't get into them as much because they just don't have a voice for me.
Yeah. No, I totally get it.
But so when I read this one, as dark as it is, it was very interesting, and she just has a captivating way of writing that she could have just copied the phone book and did it her way, and I would have read it.
Okay.
That's the kind of voice she has.
Okay.
So I'm very interested. I'm just barely started on this one.
Okay.
But it's going to be interesting to hear about her life, the parts I don't know where she came from, how she started.
Yeah. That'll be really interesting.
Yeah, she is a great writer. I really do enjoy her.
Awesome. Thanks, Doug.
You bet.
I'm just going to add another bio for the Audible listeners. So for those who like to listen to audiobooks, one of my favorites is Amy Poehler's book, and it's called Yes, Please. So Amy Poehler from SNL fame, and just kind of documents her life starting. She's from Boston, she's from Massachusetts, and then coming out to the Chicago area, and then just her rise and her friendship with Tina Fey. And it's one of those laugh out loud biographies. Like, I just listened to it. She's got like Seth Meyer will guest voice, Kathleen Turner. And so those are just like, that's just a fun, really fun, if you're not wanting anything too melancholic, this would be the opposite of it. So it's a very funny biography. And then the other funny one is they're all from SNL, Saturday Night Live, is Colin Jost. So or Jost, I don't know. But it's called A Very Punchable Face. So he talks about growing up in New York City, being in Staten Island, how his mom, I think one of the more serious things was that he talked about how his mom was the chief medical officer for the New York Fire Department, and it was during 9/11. Yeah. And so I just, so he balances it out, and the fact that he also went to Harvard and was part of the group there who did like comedy. Conan O'Brien was one of those people too, I believe. Yeah. And so, so you hear more about how his writing, he's done a lot of writing for SNL, but it is also one of those like really funny, I can only do audiobooks lately.
I love those guys from SNL, and he's the one that does the news, right?
Yeah. Yes. And so so it's like with like hearing that, I understand his friendship with is it Pete Davidson, because Pete Davidson's dad was a New York firefighter who passed away during 9/11, and they both grew up on Staten Island. So yeah, so it was just really an interesting one. But I love biographies because you get the behind the scenes, and I love to hear like the history, the context, what builds a person, and what makes them who they are today, or what helps them to be successful. So
do those two books, did they read their own books, those two others? I like that too, when it's in their own, if the author can do their own,
read
it themselves.
They're when they read it, like there's been other books, comedians that I've heard their books, and I'm like, I can't really listen to it. I would rather read their book. Yeah. There's a couple people that I'm like, oh, maybe not this time. But on the page, they're funny. Yeah. But sometimes, like, for whatever for like Amy Poehler, the way her intonations, the way her voice is, it's just perfect.
I love her a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again, Doug. And so those are so all these books that we've recommended, they're in our catalog.
They are.
And you can check them out, but you can't get to the Joyride by Susan Orlean.
You can have the other two, but I'm a fast reader. Give me a week.
Okay.
Then you can have it.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So now for our staff recommendations, we have Heather. We're going to go into mysteries. So mysteries are great. I love a good mystery. I can't, those Frida McFadden ones, I couldn't stop reading, and then I got totally sick of them. But we have Heather Gunnel, and she will share a little bit about yourself. You are the YA...
Yeah, so I'm Heather Gunnel. I'm the Youth Services Collection Management Librarian for the Rockford Public Library. So I purchase everything for the children's department as well as fiction novels for the young adult department for our library system. I also happen to run the staff picks display, even though that is part of the adult department, because staff picks are my favorite thing ever. Recommending books is like my life's blood. I love doing it.
Can you do a little promo about the staff picks that you have?
So the staff picks display, the primary display is at our main branch downtown, and I rotate it out every week so that there's at least a little bit new each week on that display. Recently, we have started featuring different staff members each month. So for November right now, our featured staff member is Clei, so her books get pride of place at the front of the display, and then everybody else's picks follow behind hers. Last month for October, instead of featuring a staff member, we featured horror novels, so sometimes we'll do that. Like in February, we feature romance novels, and it's probably consistently one of our best displays here at the library.
Like it just
As
circulates.
Most popular, yes, as far as circulation goes, yes.
It just, people love to go look over there and read. Like, what are some of the on the little paper?
Little blurbs on
there.
there. Yeah. It's actually really interesting, the variety of the way different staff members will write up their staff picks, because we have some staff members who think they need to write an entire book report for me, and bless them, it means I have to make the font very, very tiny when they do that. And then we have a few people who just like, this is the best book ever, and that's totally fine. If that's all you want to say about the book, that works for me. It clearly works for the patrons because they checked those books out. It drew their attention to that book, and so they wanted to read it.
Yeah. And haven't you been approached before, like, oh, you're the person who recommended this book?
So because I am a youth services librarian, if I'm working out on the public desk, I'm usually downstairs in the children's department. But sometimes, a parent maybe has just been browsing on the second floor, or they have to, like, run downstairs and grab something really quick. And so then they see my name tag, and they're like, oh, are you the Heather G on the card? And I'm like, yeah. They're like, oh, my God, I've checked out so many of your picks. So that's always great to hear. And sometimes we've even had like notes. I came to work one day and someone had mailed a note because they were so happy with the recommendation because they'd been having a rough time and it turned out to be a really funny book. I've seen where people will actually write notes back on the little staff pick bookmarks, and so then I'll give that to whichever staff member had written the original pick.
Yeah, that's great. So listen up, public. We're going to get a couple of mystery recommendations from Heather. So
yes, and both of these are featured on the staff pick display periodically. So the first one that I'm recommending is The Framed Women of Ardemore House. That is written by Brandi Schillache. It is the first book in a new series. There is only 2 books out right now. One of the things that drew my attention to this series was I actually saw it on one of the carousels on Cloud Library for Autism Acceptance Month. And I was like, oh, what is that? Because I'm very, very familiar with books featuring autistic characters by autistic authors in the children's department. I'm less familiar with what we have upstairs for adults. And so I looked at this, and yes, Brandi Schillache is an autistic, non-binary author, and the main character in her book is an autistic character, Jo Jones. And it's also really fun because Jo Jones is an American character who has moved to the UK because she inherited a giant house there. And so we've got that fish out of water element as well because she is an American in a foreign country. Mm-hmm. She is autistic. She's open with that with some people, and it takes her a little bit longer to tell other people. But it follows the cozy mystery format of she finds a body, she's accused of murder, and now she has to prove her innocence. And I really love the authentic autistic representation. There is another character who kind of becomes her sidekick. He is ADHD. He is very, very ADHD, and I love him so much.
What are some of the things that make him
Every time he's speaking, I'm like, oh God, I feel that in my soul, because just the speed at which I know he's talking, even though I'm reading it, and the way he jumps from one idea to another. He runs kind of a junk shop, so he sells all kinds of different things, and his interests are all over the place. He can hyper-focus to help her do her research on something, because in typical cozy mystery fashion, it's just one book after another, finding one body after another.
Okay.
Again, there are only 2 books so far. The second one is called The Dead Come to Stay. I have loved both books. I cannot wait for more from this author and in this series.
Can you tell me more about cozy mysteries?
Yes, that is probably my favorite genre of mystery. So sometimes they're also called amateur detective or amateur sleuth, but it is, your average person. Nearly always in the very first book, they have stumbled upon a dead body, and either they themselves or someone very, very close to them is accused of the murder.
Okay.
And so it becomes up to them to prove innocence. And over the course of several books, they will just continue to stumble over dead bodies. We actually have a really great one that kind of plays with that trope. I think it's actually in our sci-fi fantasy section, though.
Okay.
The Village Library Demon Hunter Society.
Ooh.
It plays with the cozy mystery trope. It's, as far as I know, it's a standalone book.
Okay.
But it reads like you're 10 books into a mystery series. And I can't give too much detail with that one, but it's a really fun dismantling of the whole cozy mystery trope if you are familiar with cozy mysteries.
Okay.
Yeah, and along with the traditional cozy mystery format of Brandi Schillache's books, you're also getting a lot of family history. So far in both books, Jo Jones is researching the history behind a portrait that was found in the first story of a family member and trying to figure out what happened to her, because there is the modern body that is found in the first book, and then there's also a very, very old body that gets found.
Oh, interesting.
And yes, and so they're trying to figure out what happened, and is this the woman from the portrait? Is this someone else? So I like that family history that continues into the second book. I don't know if it will continue beyond that, but it is a fun aspect of that series as well.
Okay, great. So what's your second book?
The second one that I brought with today is, this series is so much fun. It was recommended to me forever ago, and I finally got to them earlier this year. This is Shady Hollow, which is the first book of the Shady Hollow series, written by Juneau Black. And these books feature anthropomorphized animals.
Okay.
So the main character that you follow through all of them is a fox. She is a fox. She is Vera Vixen, and she is a reporter. And so she's nosy. She wants to figure out what's going on with everything. And every single book opens with a note that's like, just go with it. Just don't overthink it. Just go with it. Because, yes, there is a tendency to overthink things like, you're eating eggs. Who is providing the eggs that you're eating? I really want to know who is providing the eggs. Or who provided the milk for that milkshake or that ice cream. So there are some things that you just can't help but but wait a minute. But for the most part, they deal with it very well. You forget that these are animals, and it really does feel like people, because you're dealing with things like extramarital affairs or people lying about their past. The Shady Hollow opens with a toad. If I can remember, I'm 6 books deep into this series already, so I'm trying to remember. I think it's Otto is his name, Otto Stumpf. Okay. No relation to librarian Sarah Stumpf.
Are you sure?
I had so much fun with that when I was reading that one. But the first one opens with the murder of finding the dead body of this toad. And he was a grumpy toad. He didn't like any of his neighbors. He had notebooks full of all his ramblings about people. And so it starts with Vera kind of digging in and figuring out what happened. And again, it follows the cozy mystery format of she is not a detective. She is not a police officer, but she is finding out what is happening. Now, this one does stray from it in the sense that I don't believe, again, I'm several books in, so I start to mix the details. I don't believe she is ever accused of the murder.
Okay.
But she does want to know the truth of what has actually happened. She does feel like the original person. I want to say in this one, a raccoon is originally brought in, but that's just because he's a petty criminal, so he gets brought in for everything.
Okay. Like a raccoon
you
would be.
expect,
Yeah.
I mean, of course the raccoon is a petty thief. Of course he is.
Of course.
And so I think it starts with her trying to be like, yeah, no, this guy didn't kill the toad. Someone else did this. And so then there's all kinds of, then there's a poisoning attempt and other things happen throughout the course. And, of course, the villain is never who you expect it to be. And, yeah, again, you do some overthinking. Once you hear some of the details, you're like, wait, relationship between who and who? How does that work with those kind of animals? Just don't overthink it. Just go with it. Just pretend they're regular people and go with it. It is such a fun story. This is like, if you were a big fan of Richard Scarry as a kid, this is very much the very grown-up version of it. It never gets too graphic, but yeah, you're dealing with adult issues. And
yeah. I love the way that you have to really suspend your
disbelief. Absolutely suspend your disbelief. And for the most part, when dealing with food and stuff, you don't have to sit and overthink it. One of the most popular restaurants in town is run by a panda, and he serves all of the. It's a fully vegetarian restaurant.
Okay, I was wondering if it was going to be Chinese, but
basically, yeah. I mean, bamboo, I think, is served pretty frequently there, but it is a vegetarian restaurant. There is, however, mention in later books. There's a wolf character in one of the later books, and he's complaining about the lack of steak at this vegetarian restaurant. And I want to be like, what restaurant in this world is serving steak? Because, yeah, you never see any of the characters eating meat.
Yeah, so interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, those are fun books, and they're right here in the library.
Yep, they're here in the library, on and off the staff books display, because like I said, I do rotate it weekly to try to have a fresh view, but they are available through the library. I've borrowed both of them on Cloud Library, so if you can't get the physical copy, you should be able to get it digitally.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Heather.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, and again, a little shout out to the staff picks that are here at the main library that Heather organizes and puts together. And it's awesome to have that resource, because I know I'm always like, ooh, I wonder what book one of the staff is recommending. Mm-hmm. So thanks again, Heather.
Thank you.
Technically speaking, I learned in library school that science fiction is a subgenre of what's called speculative fiction. And speculative fiction is the umbrella that holds sci-fi, fantasy, and horror, because it's all dealing with things that are not real in their own way.
Okay.
And so sci-fi is just one branch of speculative fiction. So sometimes also you'll see people who are real purists, or people who are book awards or something being like, oh, it's not sci-fi, it's speculative fiction. And it's like, yeah, sure, dude. Okay, Milton. Whatever. But yeah, there's a lot of subgenre. There's differences between people who like very thinking heavy sci-fi, I want it to be the details of the robots or the details of the whatever aren't as important as the big social commentary. Mm-hmm. And then there are people, who want the more literary prose and things like that. That's what I would call Brave New World, 1984 kind of sci-fi. Mm-hmm. Cormac McCarthy's The Road. That's
sci-fi?
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea.
Yeah, it's like a journey through an apocalyptic wasteland with an old man and a little boy.
Okay.
But really the journey isn't that important, because the things they do and the people they see are not really as interesting as the intense feelings of despair and ennui as you journey and confronting them, but also not feeling any better about yourself. But the journey shapes you, man. The journey shapes you.
That's what I hear about it. So I never thought it was.
Yep. And that's a type. And then you have the funny sci-fi, mm-hmm. which tends to be the more things I like. You've got your hard robot people, the people who are I want it to be very technical. I want to know exactly, these are the people who are measuring the Enterprise in reruns of Star Trek to be but how would you do that with that much? You'd need more dilithium. There aren't enough nacelles, the very technically heavy sci-fi. And then you've got the type of sci-fi that I would just call space monsters, explosion, alien, gun, go boom. you know? Like, it's do you like an action movie? But instead of, like, a dude with a gun, it's an alien with a gun. Or maybe we're running from an alien with a gun. Sci-fi thriller, you know, like, there's medical, like, oh, this virus is going to kill us all kind of sci-fi. Like, medical sci-fi is its own thing. So sci-fi has a lot of weird little, like, subgenres. And the people who like their particular brand generally don't like any of the others. So, like, all mine in here are, like, funny, short, like, novella types, because that's what I like.
Okay, awesome. Tell us about your first one.
All right, so the first one I am bringing to you guys is called All Systems Red by Martha Wells. It is part of a series that is called The Murderbot Diaries. And it is about this robot, and he is able to override the chip in his head that forces him to obey humans and do what the company tells him to do and follow corporate protocol and things like that. He's able to override this chip, and he can do whatever he wants. And he has no idea what he wants. So he just keeps showing up to work and hoping they don't notice, while becoming progressively more and more obsessed with a bad, trashy soap opera sci-fi show called The Rise and Fall of Sanctuary Moon. And he gets assigned to go to this planet and protect this group of what I would call space hippie scientists, like very drum circles, and we talk about our feelings and vibrations. And he's like, these people are so weird. I don't know what to do. Like, he's not good with normal social interaction with humans, and these people are super weird, and he has no idea what to do. So, like I said, just becomes progressively more interested in watching bad TV. And then a bunch of stuff happens on the planet, and he actually has to save them, and they find out that he has this chip disabled, and they don't know if they can trust him or if he's going to try to kill them all. And it's the start of a series. I believe it's up to 8 books now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And they're pretty short. They're almost all under 200 pages.
Okay.
And it got made into a TV show this year by Apple TV called Murderbot, and the series is called The Murderbot Diaries, because that's his jokey name for himself, like that he's a security robot. What is he good at? Killing people. His nickname for himself when he's like, I'm free to be whoever I want to be. What's my name? I don't know. That's hard. Think I got identity. What? Murderbot. I'm going to call myself Murderbot, and I'm going to watch bad TV.
Okay.
And Alexander Skarsgård is in the TV show. It's on Apple TV. I really enjoyed the show. I really enjoyed the book series. There's another one in the series that's coming out this May. And if you really like dry sarcasm, humor, people who are weird, like, ultimately it's like a found family type of thing. Like, you are so weird, I wouldn't have picked you in a million years, but, like, now, okay, we're in this together. We're bonded, man.
Yeah.
We're in it. We're gonna see this through to the end, even though you're a murder bot and you're a space president and you're a weird space hippie that keeps wanting to play drum circles, and you're having an incredibly complicated interpersonal, like, romantic relationship drama, and the robot's like, ooh, Jesus, what is that? That, yikes, nope, keep me away from that. So it's fun, and that's what I enjoy about All Systems Red.
You had me at bad TV, so.
It's so bad. It's so bad. It's like the worst melodramatic space-themed soap opera you've ever imagined.
Okay.
And he's like a total fanboy, like, devoted to it. Like, at one point, one of the characters, like, doesn't believe he actually watches this show and tries to trip him up with, like, he's like, no, that didn't happen. Like, he's so passionate about this bad sci-fi TV show that he obsessively watches on his little, like, interview screen when he's supposed to be, like, surveying the terrain for, you know, threatening flora and fauna, and really he's just watching bad TV in his own head. Which is what I would do at work sometimes if on certain days if I could get away with that.
Awesome. So what's your second book?
My second pick is called Full Speed to a Crash Landing by Beth Revis. And again, this is a trilogy, but they're all short. I think they're all under 150 pages. And I would say this is like Ocean's 11 in space. It is a space heist. She is a thief, spy, general person. She trades information for things, and in the first book she basically is trying to find this object that has crash landed on a planet before the other team that's there finds it first. And, you know, you get to see her kind of manipulate the people around her, but also, there's a little bit of a little hint of romance in this. There's a guy that she really likes him. He really likes her. He doesn't know she's like a secret space thief. And over the course of the trilogy, he finds out, and that goes super great. He loves that because he's a very morally upstanding government employee who's never broken the law. And she's like, oh, I steal stuff all the time. And so that particular book is even more of just it's a straight up Ocean's 11 heist comedy.
Okay.
With a little touch of romance. And that just makes it really fun and you uncover the layers of what looks like she's just stealing something for money, but there's actually deeper political things going on. But also she just needs money and wants money. And it's just a fun trilogy.
Okay.
And Beth Revis did a YA series probably about 10, 12 years ago, during the height of the Hunger Games years. And I really liked that. That was like a sci-fi for teenagers about people going through space and being woken up from being cryogenically frozen too early, so they're never going to make it to the beautiful planet. They're awake now. There's a bunch of teenagers running around a spaceship. And it's really nice to see her mature, to go from writing sci-fi sort of hijinks in space with teens and politics to seeing her writing sci-fi hijinks in space with adults and politics and a little bit of a love story. So that's the second one.
Okay, cool. I like all these. I feel like they're all relatable and they're easy to if it's new to you, sci-fi.
And that's the thing about sci-fi is it is such a wide net. Is it really is going to incorporate anything from something that I would just find boring as watching paint dry, really technical detail about how the spaceship works or how the robots work, or these really deep questions like what is it to be human? But I mostly just like it because people do the weird stuff, just the types. It just allows these characters to be in these completely bizarre situations and to think, how would a person respond if they ran away from home at 16 to become a universally renowned space thief? Or how would you respond if you had been rigidly controlled your entire life and now you could do whatever you wanted and you had no clue what to do with freedom? I really think those are just interesting questions, and they're fun.
Yeah.
So that's why I generally tend to go for more of the light sci-fi, and most of the stuff I like is short.
Yeah.
It's not a big fat tome because it's not full of technical detail or long philosophical diatribe. Not that there's not details or philosophies in there, but it's not going to beat you over the head with it. Right. I tend to like stuff that's funny, and I tend to like stuff that's weird.
It's probably pretty more direct.
Yeah,
too.
It's very direct. You just hop in and you get on and you go. It is not one of those. There are people who like the nice term is a leisurely paced novel, which if you like that, man, that's fine. I would call it a boring novel where nothing happens. I read Les Miserables in high school, and I was like, God, Victor Hugo, do you need to spend this many pages describing the sewers of Paris? Nobody cares, I couldn't get into that sort of stuff where it throws a ton of details at you. I want it to be constantly moving. Yeah. I want it to be really action-packed. If I'm going to read it, I want it to be fun. And yes, it can ask me some big questions, but if it asks me a bunch of big questions and the answers at the end is everyone dies, nothing's worth anything, thousands of years in the future, humans are still terrible wretches that'll ruin, just sell you out to Satan for one corn chip, I'm not interested in reading that book. I'm sorry. I want to read the one, where it might end ambiguously or it might be open for a sequel, but there's something that makes you smile when you read it, not that you just end it and be like, well, that was dark and depressing or boring, which is a great segue into my third pick, which is by far the weirdest thing I'm going to tell you about. And considering I think I set the bar pretty high with those first two, let's just go in. It's called American Hippo by Sarah Gailey. And I need you to know that this was a real thing. In the 1830s, there was a proposal to bring hippos from Africa to the swamps of Louisiana for meat. This was an actual, like, pitched idea, like, because there was meat shortages.
Okay.
And this is before, you had a lot of ranching in the West and things like. There was a real plan to bring hippos to the swamps and the bayous and to just let them loose and then hunt them for meat. Hippos are incredibly aggressive animals.
Okay.
And thankfully this never happened, but this book, American Hippo, is like, it's a sci-fi set in the past.
Okay.
It's set in the 1860s.
Uh-huh.
It's dealing with the issues that we think of as our Civil War, but their history is totally different because they brought over all these hippos who escaped from their farms and, like, roam the swamps of Louisiana totally feral and kill people.
Oh, wow.
And so you get a little, it's another one of those found family, people from all walks of life, let's get the team together kind of thing. And this guy who is like a hippo wrangler, and he rides one of the hippos. He has convinced it to, like, accept him.
Yeah.
But they're even in Africa, the hippos are incredibly aggressive. They kill more people than great white sharks every year by a huge margin.
Wow.
They
I had
are
no
highly
idea.
territorial. They don't like people. And so this is like a what if sci-fi of the past. So it's all it's very steampunk. Like, you got steamships, and you got the social issues of the 1800s playing out in this world where it's like, okay, guys, let's get on our hippos and we're gonna. It's almost like a Western.
Yeah.
So it blends this weird element of a real history and a fake past with, like, the tropes of a Western, a little bit of a heist story, a little bit of a really diverse cast of found family, all this sort of new and interesting weird technology that never happened but, like, could have in the past. And that book, American Hippo, it was originally published as 2 short novellas, and then she published them together as one book. And so it definitely feels like there's a first part and a second part. So that one's the longest single book that I'm recommending. But it's because it was originally published as 2 short books that were each like 150 pages.
So do the hippos become tame? Do they become friends with the people? Do
they get along with certain people?
Okay.
That if they were raised on a ranch and they were successfully somewhat domesticated, I would say it's kind of like you could become friends with a coyote or a fox.
Okay.
Or a raccoon. Have you ever seen those videos where, like, people are feeding hot dogs to raccoons? It's like that. It's like it's fundamentally a wild animal.
Okay.
If you get one that likes you and you feed it and you have a good relationship, maybe you can have this raccoon come to your door and you can pet it and, feed it hot dogs or whatever and have a good time. But it's fundamentally a wild animal.
Yeah.
And so they all have, like, their individual hippos that like and trust them, but it doesn't mean that they wouldn't get in a fight with another hippo and just accidentally kill a human and not care at all. And then you have these wild hippos, and they're going on this sort of steamboat adventure to basically prevent what you can see as kind of elements of the Civil War. And so they're going through all this area where there's these feral hippos, and it has a very Jurassic Park feel in a way. Like, they have to go up the river on their hippos and hope they don't run into any of the scary, like, feral hippos. And then they have to, like, fight this guy who's, like, trying to weaponize the hippos. And, like, it's just the weirdest thing. It is just, and it's everything I love about sci-fi. It just takes something that is so completely weird. Like, you're like, what were you smoking when you came up with this idea? Like, where in your creative mind does something like wild feral hippo wranglers, like, if you fall in the water, they will see the splash and you're done. Like, it's got almost a Jaws feel or a Jurassic Park feel of those. And both of those, depending on who you ask, can be classed as sci-fi. Jurassic Park's definitely sci-fi, or, genetically modified dinosaurs. But in some ways, Jaws is, in those sort of, like, the creature is going to get me. Those are also kind of a part of sci-fi speculative fiction, depending on what kind of animal it is. The Meg, where it's lasted millions of years, but it's hidden from humans. Now it's eating us. That's basically sci-fi as well.
Okay.
And so I really liked American Hippo because it was just, I've never found a weirder premise for a book. and it works. You think to yourself, why would this work? This is so weird. And it works so well. You get so attached to the characters, to their bonds with each other, to how far they'll go for this like motley ragtag crew to make it through, and just hopefully not get eaten or stampeded or thrown off a dam into a hippo infested water or something. It's completely bizarre. And like I said, all three of these, my picks, what I like sci-fi for is the straight creativity, the humor, the humanity of it. There's plenty of people who like deep philosophical sci-fi where it's going to be like 500 pages and just be very blunt in the fact that it's asking you about like what is humanity. But I'd rather read a little story about a dumb robot who watches bad TV, or a guy who rides a hippo, or a girl who is a space thief, because it's also answering those same questions about like what is humanity, but while I'm laughing and I'm constantly surprised.
Okay, that's awesome. So we have all these books at the library.
We have all these books at the library. All Systems Read, we have both individually and as a compilation that's called like the Murderbot Diaries Volume 1. Full Speed to a Crash Landing, that's an individual one. American Hippo we have as the duo that has both of the Hippo series books in it together as one American Hippo book.
Okay.
And then these are also on ebook. I know because I listened to the American Hippo, so I know we got an audiobook of that in Cloud Library. And I think I read Full Speed to a Crash Landing in ebook as well.
Okay.
So I'm 95% sure that's an ebook. Okay. So those are just my particular interests. But I would say if you're a person who doesn't normally gravitate towards sci-fi, but you do tend to gravitate towards fast-paced things.
That would be me, yeah.
Yeah, not everything in sci-fi is like watching a ship drift through space, answering questions about desolation, and like how many isolinear chips are in this replicator. Like, no, that's not what it all is.
Okay.
Pick the skinny books.
Yeah.
They're more fun. They're definitely weirder.
Well, that's awesome. Thanks, Sarah. I appreciate you coming on and giving us your recommendations. And I know there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be really interested in these books, and especially when it's so cold outside.
It's cold outside. Go on an adventure through space or a hippo marsh, or you'll find also most of these are on the staff picks display at the main location because they are my staff picks. And if they're not there, I can introduce you to some equally weird sci-fi space type of things that I didn't bring in today because we only have so much time, and I could talk about this for like 2 hours and nobody would listen to that podcast because it'd be really boring. Be like, God, that girl never shuts up. But yeah, you can absolutely find them at Maine, usually on the staff pick display, if you don't want them in or e-audio book.
Okay, great. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Okay. So we just heard from Sarah about sci-fi, some science fiction books, and so now we're going to hear from Clei Johnson, who is our newest librarian who has joined the adult services staff here at the main library. Welcome, Clei. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to be at the Rockford Public Library?
Yeah, thank you for having me. I came down to Rockford Public Library. I was previously living up in Madison, which is where I got my library sciences degree. And then I had a friend on the staff who let me know when there was an opening, and I was lucky enough to make it down here, and now here I am.
Awesome. We're so glad to have you. And you were one of the first people who said, like, I've got some book recommendations. So let's hear about your first one for science fiction.
So science fiction, I tried to pick a decent spread here. My first one is it's one that is kind of straddles the line between young adult and adult. So could be good for older teens as well if you have an older teen in your life or are an older teen. It is called Iron Widow. It's by Jiran J. Zhao. I just finished the second book in the series, and I've been really enjoying it. It is, it's pretty snappy in terms of its pacing, which was nice. And then I actually listened to the audiobooks, which I thought were quite well done. We do have both the audiobooks and the physical in our collection. And it is science fiction with some, it's very science fiction. It's set on a completely different world from our Earth, in a sort of fictionalized China. There are some ancient, like historic Chinese characters that are in the story. Very, very fictionalized because they are piloting giant robots.
Okay.
And
kind of Voltron.
Yeah, like, so it's like, yeah, you have to have two people in the robot to control it, and they're, fighting in this war against these encroaching aliens, and there's a lot of different kind of some politicking that has to happen because of that. The protagonist joins the army to get revenge.
Oh, interesting.
Because her sister is killed. And yeah, some very like interesting things where we're doing a lot of giant robots, and then we're also kind of unpacking some things outside of that. So I had a really good time with it. I'm looking forward to, I believe it's a trilogy, so
Okay.
the third one should come out at some point.
Is it a thick book?
It's like fairly chunky, but
Okay.
not too bad. It's I didn't feel intimidated by it. Like,
Okay.
sometimes I do. Like, some of those big fantasy sci-fi books,
Yeah.
you're like, this is 800 pages. It's going to take me 3 months.
Okay.
I thought it read really snappily, and like it was a much quicker read than I expected it to
Okay.
be.
Is Fourth Wing considered sci-fi, or is that more romantasy?
I believe Fourth Wing is more fantasy in
Okay.
terms of genre.
Okay.
The line is blurry.
Okay.
But a very, very fast and loose definition is usually dragons
Okay.
are fantasy.
Okay, thank you.
Dragons and magic, usually fantasy. Science fiction, there might be a robot or a spaceship of some
Okay.
kind rather than a dragon or
Okay.
magic. But there are books that have all of those things in them. So it's, like I said, very fast and loose.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for helping me understand the lines.
They're very blurry. And that is also part of why we have our science fiction and fantasy together, because, yeah.
Awesome. And so what's your next?
Yeah, my next one is more of a classic in terms of science fiction. It's The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin. It is one of my all-time favorite books. And it is a not necessarily a harder science fiction, like is what some people will say, rather than like Star Wars is considered more like soft science fiction because it's not
interesting.
necessarily. I mean, Star Wars is often considered a science fantasy.
Okay.
Because you have things like the Force at play. Left Hand of Darkness is a almost anthropological
Okay.
Way of writing. It is about a researcher who comes down to a planet and then starts interacting with the people there. And there is also some political intrigue because I do enjoy a good science fiction or fantasy political intrigue. And there's like sort of a romance that's happening, but it's also really more about how like these people and cultures are interacting and like what being an outsider coming in means. And it's also one of, I think, one of her more widely known books because it does explore gender a lot. She was one of the writers who was in sort of feminist science fiction circles. I don't know if she explicitly considered herself a feminist science fiction writer, but her work gets kind of put in those circles a lot. So I think it's a really interesting read. It really stuck with me, and it tends to get reissued every couple of years in a new edition. I like the editions we have. They're nice, good hardcovers. But yeah, I would highly recommend it if you have not read it.
And then you have one more,
I
right?
have one more. This one is a more modern one, and it is in space. The title is An Unkindness of Ghosts by Rivers Solomon. So my 2 second ones are really like books that I kind of like have chewed on a lot. Like they will make you think. That doesn't mean they're hard to read, but they do have like a lot going on in them, which I think is very fun. The Unkindness of Ghosts is set on a generation ship, which is like a giant spaceship with, I don't remember the exact numbers of people, but like hundreds to thousands of people, like essentially this city or even country that is traveling through space with the goal of when you reach your destination, you then have enough people to kind of like start a colony or new civilization. The Unkindness of Ghosts really kind of looks at some of the social stratification that happens on that spaceship. I think it's very literalized in terms of like if you're on the lower decks, you're pretty much lower in status, and looking at how that intersects with some other things like race and disability, there's some really like interesting things that happen in there that I still kind of am mulling over like years later. I think it did win one award when it came out, and I'm blanking on the name of which award it did, but it was very well deserved. And it did make me cry in the course of reading. I think it is like a little bit of a heavier one, but I believe it does have a happy ending. Like it kind of ends on a hopeful note, if I'm not misremembering. Which
can you repeat the title again?
Yep. So it is An Unkindness of Ghosts by Rivers Solomon.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. It's had a lasting impression.
Yeah, it has been a couple years since I read it, but when I was looking at different books to pull for this, I was like, all right, I mean, we got to do this one.
Yeah. Are these books that you would read again?
I would I definitely would. Left Hand of Darkness has been on my like reread list for a bit. It'll take me a little because I just finished Iron Widow. I think I'll maybe give that a couple years and then come back to it. But I think they all do, like, they have rereadability, which I enjoy.
And so what do you love about science fiction and the genre?
I like science fiction a lot because it is a really good space to kind of, like, play in and pull out some, like, really big ideas about what humanity can be, and, like, kind of to, like, authors then get the chance to kind of, like, pull those out into bigger, more dramatic or just weirder stuff that I think makes it really fun, or sometimes not really fun. Sometimes you get a very serious science fiction novel, which is also enjoyable, and I have kind of skewed a little more serious on this one. There are also some very fun, wacky ones, which I think Sarah mentioned. She skews a little wackier, so I was like, okay, I'll try and, like, come
balance
back from the other way, yeah. I really enjoy that it really, you can that's the case with all fiction. You can, decide what you want to address, but with science fiction, there's some really, like, you don't have to be solely in the realm of metaphor, necessarily, within the book. So I think it's really fun to see what people come up with.
Yeah. And what they create in the world that they've decided to, in the different situations that the characters walk through.
Yeah, exactly.
So, well, thank you, Clei, for coming in today.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks.
And I love all these different books that everybody has shared this today, from our science fiction, our biographies and mysteries, and I'm mulling through what we're gonna do next.
All
Maybe horror.
Oh, okay. I might have some picks for that.
Yeah. Well, thanks again, everyone, for being a part of our podcast, and we look forward to our next one. I'm not sure what it's going to be, but I definitely want to do more staff recommendations, because it's great to hear from you, Clei, and from other staff, because who doesn't have a book either in their ear or on their side table or in their bag that they're, I think even Doug was saying he has probably 4 or 5 that he's reading.
I have a pile.
Yeah. There's a pile of books that all of us staff have that we are just reading through, and in different genres. And so I love that we have such a awesome staff that we can pull from and hear what they'd recommend. So thank you again.
Yeah, thanks so much for hosting. Yep.